Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the final Jags React of the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars lost yesterday to the Tennessee Titans 28-20 in an embarrassing performance. But that's been kind of the way it's gone outside of last week against Carolina, who might be the only team in the league that might be playing worse than the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, realistically. If I was doing a true power ranking where the record didn't matter, I would rank the Jags in the bottom five. They're playing that poorly. Or they ended the season that poorly, I should say. The season's over. Good job, guys. Good job. I don't know what to say about this game. Like, the Jags have... I don't get how you... The interception, which admittedly wasn't Trevor's fault. It was a complete bobble and drop by Evan Ingram, but that turned the game around. That turned the game in their favor. Tennessee went up 11, and the Jags just never really had it. And then the touchdown at the start of the second half, giving up the 69 run to the Jaguar killer Derrick Henry, who averaged in this fucking game 8.1 yards per carry, and then Tajay Spears on 3 carries averaged 8.3. Yeah, you just can't do that. Tajay Spears having 2 touchdowns in this game, by the way. You knew this game. If they came in this game thinking this was going to be an easy game, then that's on the coaching staff, because this is likely Derrick Henry's final game as a Tennessee Titan. You know damn well, especially after what happened last year, that the Tennessee Titans were going to come to play in this game. And it looked like the Jags just weren't prepared. Which is... And that's the worst part about this, is for 18 weeks, 17 games, I could be a fucking broken record in these and talk about turnovers, missed tackles, the defense not making stops, timely stops. It's unbelievable that there was no adjustment done throughout the season to try and correct any of this, as it continues to be a problem. I don't know the last time ETN had 4 yards of carry. I think actually he had it last week, but because of one big run. Throughout the Carolina game, when was the last time he had 4 yards per carry? Early in the season? He averaged for the season 3.8 a carry. For the season! Well, yeah, 1,000 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns and another receiving touchdown. Yeah, but you don't see the problem? It wasn't efficient. I'm gonna list you his yards per carry per game all season. 4.3, 3.3, 4.6, 2.8, 5.2, 3.1, 3.8, 3.3, 3.9, 3.7, 2.8, 4.1, 2.5, 3.1, 2.0, 6.4, 3.6. 5 games all season with a 4.0 or better average. 5. Is it Travis Etienne? Maybe a little bit. He's the one that tended to take the responsibility. But really, the interior of the line for the Jacksonville Jaguars is atrocious. And it has been all season. And the line has not been good at run blocking all season long. Calvin Ridley did have a nice game, had over 100 yards, got over 1,000 yards for the season, and a touchdown. He ended up having a pretty solid year, honestly. 76 catches, 1,016 yards, and 8 TDs. That's a good performance. That's a good performance. But he was hit and miss all season. The Jags lost 5-6 to end the season. And they lost to Jake Browning, Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and Ryan Tannehill. They win one more of those games. One. and they're in the playoffs. And they couldn't manage it. Yes, they beat Carolina. Whoop-de-doo. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense has played poorly for a while. And they have often... I don't even know. Another gave up 28 to Tennessee is terrible. It's terrible. I'm sorry. It is. Oh, and what was part of the problem? Turnovers again. Can't get off the field. 6 for 11 for Tennessee on third down. Jags were 8 for 14 for the record, so it's not like neither team didn't do a good job at getting off the field. Although the Jags did have an 0 for 3 on fourth downs, but 2 turnovers again, and one was pretty backbreaking. And although it wasn't Trevor's fault, that did allow the Titans to go up 21-10. And when the defense, when they were down 21-13 after halftime, needed just one stop, get the ball back. Let's keep the momentum going. Completely fell apart and gave up a touchdown drive after half. That was the backbreaker. I know the Jags tried to make a comeback, and to their credit, they tried, but ended up not mattering in the long run. So where are we? I'm gonna make a video at some point, probably after the playoffs, detailing some of the things I want to see in the offseason. And I'm not gonna go into that right now, except for one piece of thing. I think Doug Peterson is a good coach, and we do have to keep the perspective that if you told me in 2021 that the Jacksonville Jaguars, the next 2 seasons, after having back-to-back number 1 overall picks for the record, would go 19-15. That included a playoff berth, a playoff win, a legendary playoff win, and having back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in nearly 20 years, I would call you a liar. I would say that's no way that's going to happen. So to Doug Peterson's credit, that's amazing. That's awesome that happened. However, when you consistently see that first of all, that discounts the actual context that is needed. This team started 8-3 and lost 5 of the last 6 to miss the playoffs. And the same issues, the lack of preparedness, the turnovers, penalties, defense can't get off the field. The continuous stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again with no adjustment all season. It's the same shit. It's a broken record. Go through my fucking VODs or my videos of this and listen to me talk about third down defense at times. No running game. Turnovers. Even in wins, I'm talking about turnovers. When this team didn't turn the ball over, they lost. They were 5-2 when they went. I think it was 7 games, 8 games. I think 7. They had 7 games where they didn't turn the ball over or turned over once, and they looked dominant. But they couldn't get out of their own way. And part of that's on Trevor for trying to do too much. You see it all the time. And if he was that injured, why did this offense look functional and consistent against Carolina last week? It was Carolina, for the record, with CJ Beathard in, but yet again with Trevor in. It's the same shit. There's a conversation again that had to be had, and it's a tough one. Trevor is due a extension, or is up for an extension, as he goes into year 4. You cannot no longer use the Urban Meyer experience as an excuse for him. He's had 2 years. But you can use poor play calling. poor schematics, a bad offense. And this is the one thing I want to talk about the offseason. It's the coaching staff. As I said a little bit ago, I think Doug Pearson is a good coach. But if he keeps this staff, if he thinks this staff is going to lead the Jaguars anywhere, you saw what happened. Press Taylor has to go. If you don't want to call plays, Doug, I'm all for that. I have said I am a proponent of coaches not calling plays. I think it distracts them from some of the bigger stuff in the game that head coach got to focus on. I am with you 100%. But you got to get someone in that can do it. Honestly, that's the problem. I think the coaching staff might be terrible. This might be one of the worst coaching staffs in the league that he's put together. I've had some buddies say they need to fire Pearson. I think that's unfair. I think that's too much. That's going way too far in an unnecessary way. I don't think you fire him this year. But if they miss the playoffs next year, absolutely. Absolutely. Then you have a tough conversation with Trevor about Trevor. And, you know, the thing is, this team is... There is only so far we can go. And that's going to be the million-dollar question going into the offseason. There's some tough questions. You don't collapse like this without there being tough questions. You don't collapse like this without some sort of change. That has to happen. You cannot go into next season status quo. You can't. That's a disservice to the players. That's a disservice to the franchise. And that's a disservice to the fans. Telling them that Press Taylor and Mike Caldwell are the guys to lead this team as coordinators. You can't sit there and tell us that and not expect us to be mad about it. One of those two has to go. Press Taylor's the one I would choose. I think we could live with Mike Caldwell. I think we can get somewhere with Mike Caldwell because there are things about the defense that we liked. Although getting turnovers seemed to become a bit of a problem. We kind of stopped forcing the turnovers. But let's talk about the good. Trayvon Walker hit 10 sacks on the season. He had another sack. Again, he's really came on, especially in the second half of the season. Credit where credit is due with Trayvon Walker. He is up to 10 sacks on the season. Josh Allen is at 17.5. Those two combined had 27.5 sacks. And they were basically the only ones that did a damn thing on defense in terms of sacks. Gotta give them credit where credit's due. You know, I've been hard on Trayvon Walker, but he's come alive. He has come alive. He had 5 sacks in his last 4 games. And since the bye, he had 1, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4, 5.5. He had 6.5 since the bye. He has played very well this season, and he's really come on strong. And you gotta give him his flowers. You know, he looked like a bust. Now he's starting to maybe look into that mode of, oh, maybe he's not as big of a bust as we thought. And if you're wondering, I'm not saying he's better than Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson had 11.5 sacks, had obviously more impact on the game, but he's only a sack and a half behind Aiden Hutchinson, and those two are going to be linked. So he wasn't that far behind. I would like to see Trayvon get more forced fumbles. He didn't force a single fumble this year. I think that is a bit problematic, but it is what it is. But nonetheless, you know, I'm going to end this video. I'm not going to talk about offseason stuff. As I said, I'm going to make a video probably after the playoffs. I might do a react to the playoffs after each round to talk about my thoughts. But as far as the Jags go, This is an embarrassment. And they should feel embarrassed. But there's no other way around it. And as a Jags fan, this hurts. You know, this is a franchise that has been so incredibly awful for so incredibly long that all we want is a team that isn't going to embarrass us. And they did it again. They did it again. That's really all I got to say. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Jags season below if you want. I got nothing else. Like I said, watch out for a video in the coming weeks, probably sometime in February, for my thoughts on some things I want to see done in the offseason, and what realistic expectations are going into 2024. It was always the Jags. Phrase doesn't sound as fun now, does it? Alright, everybody, until next time, I have been Zunker with the Lunchroom Syndicate. Deuces!